In the book, it's the ultimate long form content flex. It shows mastery of a subject matter. It shows a deep understanding of the space, whatever that space may be. And it's also a moment in time where you can get people to pay attention to an idea or your expertise that a LinkedIn post won't afford you, a YouTube video won't afford you, a social media post, of course, won't afford you. And so that's why the book as a content form has had staying power well beyond what people predicted, and is going to continue at least for the next 5 to 10 years. That's my view.
Naren, welcome to the One Away Show.
Hey, Brian, great to be here. Thank you for the invitation. Excited for this conversation.
I've been looking forward to having the conversation, and it's been awesome to get to know you over the years, or hear of you for a while and then meet you, and it will be nice to dive into the story. So Naren.
And now work together a little bit, right?
Yes, I didn't know you wanted to tell anyone, but yes. No. So Naren, what is the one away moment that you want to share with us today?
So if it's okay, I've got 2 one-away moments.
Go for it.
Okay, great. And I'll give a preview, then we can sort of dive into each. So the first one is when I made a big professional decision to leave the practice of law and to start a publishing company. As you can imagine, publishing and law, probably 2 of the most unrelated disciplines out there. And so I made that switch. And then the second one was any good business. We've been in business for 23 years. We had a major pivot, I'm going to say about 2018-ish, where we continued to publish children's books as we had from the very beginning, and also add thought leadership books. And that's when Amplify imprint emerged and has been consuming a lot of what we do and a lot of our time. And I'm really excited about that pivot and where we started there in 2018 and where we've landed here in 2026. I would say those 2 are some pretty big moments in my professional career.
Wow. Okay. So quite the transition for you, but we need some context to this transition from law to publishing. What was, I guess, first off, what got you into the legal or law space, and what were you doing?
Yeah. So I went to law school because I really didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. And so law school is a great discipline. It prepares you to think critically. And, it's a great profession. And so for me, while I was interested in becoming a lawyer, I just didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. And it gave me 3 years to really figure it out. And in the meantime, get trained up in a discipline that I'd always been intrigued by. And so that's why I went to law school. And then, as it turned out, I didn't have that long of a legal career. I worked as a lawyer for about 7 years, mostly in-house counsel at venture-funded technology companies in Northern Virginia. And I did a lot of contract work. I did a lot of technology transactions, and moved into corporate development type work, which included, helping companies raise money. Keep in mind, this was late 90s, early 2000s when the .com era was alive and well until it really wasn't. And then we reached the .bomb era, and 3 of my companies were victims of that thing that happened.
Got it. Wow. Well, thanks for the context. Yes, I remember the AOL days and or hearing about them and all that happened. And then, but it's cool to hear the background. I mean, having a legal background, I've come to really appreciate with some team members, and there's a dotting of I's and crossing of T's that is appreciated internally by. Anyways, so now what I'm curious about is, okay, so maybe you realize there was a chapter ahead of you as, let's say, the .bomb was unfolding. Why publishing? Like, what drew you there?
Yeah, well, I was with my 3rd different venture-funded company, and keep in mind, all 3 of these were well-funded, blue-chip investors, great business plans, but what they really, in the end, didn't have were customers and revenue sufficient to be a going concern. And that, while that sounds silly now, back then, you could raise a lot of money on an idea. and a lot of companies failed, and I just happened to be with three of them. And it was a time for reflection. I was taking a little time off, and then we stumbled upon this incredible project that involved my daughter, who was 3 at the time. She was a big fan of my university's mascot, and I went to Virginia Tech. And you being from Virginia, you probably know a lot of people that went to Virginia Tech, and so we take her down to football games, and she would love the game day experience, and she was really infatuated with this mascot, the Hokie Bird. And so we said, and right around that time, she was reading and enjoyed bedtime stories, and she asked for a children's book starring the Hokie Bird, the mascot of Virginia Tech. We put together a story, some terrible illustrations, and we read it to her night after night after night, and she really loved it. And it was a simple story of the mascot going around campus, stopping at 4 or 5 campus landmarks on his way to the big game, where he, of course, would cheer the team to victory, and in the case of Virginia Tech, would cheer the team to victory against the hated rival, which, of course, is University of Virginia. And so, I was thinking, well, why not just really publish this book and see if anybody else likes it? And so we got a license from the university, got an art student from the art department, and the next fall, Hello Hokie Bird hit the market. And what we found is at the intersection of children's literature and licensed sports content, there was a big appetite that had gone unmet, a niche opportunity that had been ignored. And so what we did is we moved fast. With that one success, we sold 5,000 books in about 6 months, which is incredible. We went all in and did the same thing for 350 other universities, got a license with Major League Baseball, did a lot of books for NFL teams. And so these were children's books that were, team related. And so if you're a parent or a grandparent, and you wanted to share your love for your university or your professional football team or basketball team or baseball team, we had a product for you. And so that's what we did. The first half of our company's existence, we were publishing our own books. We were selling them at retail, and really making a lot of families happy.
Yeah, and this is actually very cool. I had no idea that this was your background or what got you into publishing and the whole sports side and children's books. And I also agree. I think sports, and just to share a small quip here, my parents went to Florida, and going to like games in the swamp as I was a kid was like the most memorable thing, and like all the childhood memorabilia in books and like all of it. So that makes a lot of sense, or resonates with me, or why that would actually be such a hit for you. So you got licensed across 300 plus colleges. You got licensed with Major League Baseball. Like, what was this where you did a lot more books? Like how did this unfold and unravel?
Yeah, so how it unfolded is armed with one proof of concept, the first book. We thought, well, there's nothing really that special about Virginia Tech, except it is a special place. I will say that. But there are fans of other universities that would appreciate something similar. And so what we did is we did a lot of research about, the 4 or 5 campus landmarks at, for example, University of Kansas or Notre Dame. And we did this similar storyline, but each book was custom. That was the key. The idea was similar, but each book was custom to include campus landmarks and artwork that really represented, what's special about each university and the sports teams, and what really resonated with the alumni and fans of each of those. And so the first year we came out with the first book I told you about. Then we had 43 books. So you can imagine producing 43 books, children's books, when you know nothing about the world of publishing. And so that's what we did. We just sort of figured it out along the way. And then we thought, okay, let's do the same thing with a Major League Baseball license. And soon we had great timing. We came out with a Red Sox book when they won their first 2 World Series after 90 years or however many years. And so it was just one win after another. And, individually, there probably wasn't a huge bestseller. There wasn't a huge bestseller except for the Red Sox book that I mentioned. But you stack them, small win, small win, small win, and it was a great business opportunity that had been overlooked, that we came in and identified, moved quickly, oversaturated, and moved on.
Yeah. Wow. I like how you took your, maybe what I'm seeing, your maybe your technology learnings in some ways, like the scalability thinking and repeatability. Even if certain companies didn't pan out for you, you brought that in a way to a market that was overdue for maybe some technology innovations. But you brought that level of thinking into publishing, right? And I think that's what's super cool about that story, and like the ripple effect of how you probably touch many kids' lives and bedtimes and all the things without even realizing it. That's super neat.
Yeah. The impact, right? It's hard to fake that passion and that impact that mindset for impact. And I see that a lot with the authors that we work with, right? That's always got to be one of the top couple priorities for a project, and it surely was when we started. Because, gosh, this started with wanting to do something noteworthy and fun for my daughter.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I want to expand on this a bit. So you mentioned to me, the market got saturated, and you looked beyond, right? Like you had a niche, and you moved to the next part. Like, tell us about what you've built. I mean, you've been did Amplify or done Amplify for a pretty long time, and I feel like I've worked with very top people. Like where, like the journey then to the journey now. Like I'd love to understand maybe just the macro of
Yeah.
the accomplishments, and then kind of work your way back to how you landed on thought leadership and business authors to really dive into.
Yeah. So, believe it or not, what I read isn't children's books. What I read are business books and thought leadership and self-help. And so, my business just happened to be the world of publishing children's books at the time. But what I was really doing is creating a business. And I think that I'm an entrepreneur first and foremost. And so that's the content that I consume: books about entrepreneurship, books about business, books about leadership, self-help, self-improvement. And so it was a natural evolution. There's some challenges with the licensed market. Being a licensee is a little cumbersome. You have to do work within the confines of what the licensor will allow. It's a regulatory, it can be a burden regulatorily in terms of reporting and, again, working within a system. And practically speaking, we had created a lot of books, like I said, 350 books, multiple titles for some of our prime properties like Ohio State and Alabama and LSU and Boston Red Sox. And so there just wasn't enough room for yet another book. And by that time, other competitors had noticed what we were doing and started adding to the competitive landscape. So it just became clear that, we needed to go another direction. And for me, it was pretty obvious. I wanted to go with the types of books that I enjoy. And that's when Amplify was really born. Our first title was in 2018. And then since that time, we've done more and more in the business space. And that's how it started.
Wow. Yeah, I think it takes somebody, a certain type of person, though, to maybe appreciate business content or thought leadership, self-help content. What initially, like it sounds like from being an entrepreneur, like you're thrusted into a growth environment, but what was it about maybe business thought leadership content, self-help type of content that was appealing to you, maybe even before you like deeply entered this space?
Couple things. And so hybrid publishing, and it wasn't even called hybrid publishing, was starting to gain some traction in, call it 2016, 2017, 2018 when we started. And all of a sudden there became an appetite for people who are interested in another way of bringing books to market. Obviously, the traditional houses do incredible work. They create great books. Self-publishing, I'm a big fan. That's what we did. That's how we got our foot in the door. But there became a need for another avenue for high quality editorial, for tremendous book packaging, same distribution, and actual help in marketing a book and an author. And so I saw an opportunity open up, much like I did, when we started the company. And it was early days, and so we moved quickly to fill that. And And there's something about business and thought leadership and self-help that is particularly appealing to the hybrid model, because the authors are more entrepreneurial in spirit. They don't want to play by the rules of the old publishing playbook. And you have to go find an agent, you have to pitch the agent tries to sell. All that takes time. And people like us, we're impatient. What we want is what we want. We want to get to market fast. We want to create high quality. And so it was just a convergence of market opportunity yet again, and our ability to move quickly and gain market share in that space.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I love what you said about. I've never thought about it in that light, but I think you're absolutely right. It's business leaders who want to get books out there, but right there are super impatient. I think you and I have seen that in every shade of gray possible. And to have a model that supports efficiency and speed is, I think, to your point, right. And we all know the challenges of very traditional publishing and who that draws. So I can totally resonate with what you shared.
Yeah, it's we're not in competition with traditional publishing.
Right.
We're not in competition with self-publishing. You give me the author and their circumstances and their project goal, and I could show you many authors that would be better suited for traditional publishing or self-publishing. But for those that are in a narrow corridor, a lot of business people, I'd venture to say that hybrid publishing is almost the preferred path now. And I feel like Amplify as a company has done a lot to pave the way. I feel like, I suppose by definition, being the CEO, I played a big role in that as well. And so I'm just really, it's great to see what's happened over the last few years. And, my team, and we're not the only company in the space, of course, but I'm really proud of what our team has built here.
Yeah. Well, it's, also to your point, when I first got into the space, I was with a traditional author, but it seems like more and more, everything has gone very hybrid in the business space. So, I mean, it seems like you saw the wave and you caught the wave and now you're riding it. My question to you is, okay, you've seen the last 8 years unfold nicely in the space. When you look at the next 5-10 years of publishing, right, as an entrepreneur across publishing, like, where do you see the landscape moving more towards?
Yeah. So first of all, every year you hear the people saying that hey, the book as a long content format is going to go away. I'm here to tell you that those predictions have been way off, and I'm here to tell you that the book is still going to have relevance in, I'll say, the next 5 to 10 years. Who knows what happens after that? Don't know. Technology moves fast, but for the next 5 to 10 years, a book is going to still have relevance. And I can tell you that, anecdotally, we're growing like crazy, simply because a lot of people see the value in a book. And why is that? Because we're in an era of short form content, and a lot of people can introduce content on areas that they're, maybe they know a little bit about, but are they truly thought leaders? No. And so the bar continues to get higher and higher for people to be bona fide thought leaders, because of the noise that exists out there. And the book, it's the ultimate long form content flex. It shows mastery of a subject matter. It shows a deep understanding of the space, whatever that space may be. And it's also a moment in time where you can get people to pay attention to an idea or your expertise that a LinkedIn post won't afford you, a YouTube video won't afford you, a social media post, of course, won't afford you. And so that's why the book as a content form has had staying power well beyond what people predicted, and is going to continue at least for the next 5 to 10 years. That's my view.
Yeah. Well, to your point about mastery, I think that's so well said. I mean, I think the process of a book, like the byproduct of it is a physical book and that can get into the world, but the growth that like you go through in that journey of creating it, I think is second to none. Not that I've personally created a book, but I think I've known enough people who have to understand the process they've gone through and be like, wow, like it's very, the way it turns the mind is, it makes you think about something is a really special process. So yeah, I love your analysis on that. I don't think I'll ever go away. They're always going to be a version of a book.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you just, Naren, you just published a book. Speaking of which, why don't you tell us about it?
Yeah, after helping so many authors with their books and their ideas, I co-authored a book, and it's called, I'll lift it up here, it's called The Thought Leadership Handbook, and how the experts elevate their big ideas and how you can too, proven tools to hone your craft, engage the right people, and create lasting impact. So my co-authors in this project are Bill Sherman and Peter Winnick from Thought Leadership Leverage. And I've contributed a few chapters here on my area of expertise, which is publishing. So I'm really excited about it. And we've had a host of folks provide testimonials. And I think there's some value in here for people that are interested in the space and are looking for best practices.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you a question. What do you think? You said you shared about. Well, first, congrats. Second, you said you shared some areas around your expertise in publishing. Question for you is: what are some things that, if you've never published a book, or maybe even if you have published a book, what are things that you see on your end that would be very surprising to other people about the process of going through a hybrid publishing experience?
So first of all, putting a book together, writing a book, conceptualizing a book, writing a book is hard work. And so you better have real clarity on why you're doing it, right? And so have real clarity and understand that it's not easy. And in terms of why, the people that I talk to, and I talk to authors every day, the why is typically three things. Number one, you want to help people. You want to create impact based on your knowledge. And so, with the hundreds of projects that we've worked on, that sentiment is always there. And if it's not in the top two, I've got real concerns about the project. Secondly, it is an opportunity to showcase your thought leadership, your expertise, your authority, your mastery of a subject matter. And then the third thing I would say is it is the ultimate tool to help the author monetize how she monetizes. And for most authors, selling books, sure, who doesn't want to sell as many books as possible? But for most authors that we work with, and there are some exceptions, the real ROI comes in getting your ideas out there, getting people to understand your expertise, and then having them contact you to help you monetize however you monetize. And maybe that's keynote speaking, maybe that's consulting, maybe that's a seminar business, maybe there can be a host of things. And so just having real clarity on why you're doing the book is critical.
Yeah. Well, first, I think the why, you're right, is important. It's a long journey to bring it to life. The monetization tool, to your point, yes, it's not about selling all the books. Let me ask you, so let's build on that monetization piece, because I kind of agree more with you. Once somebody puts a body, maybe feel free to speak from examples of people you've seen do this well, but once someone, let's say, codifies this mastery and expertise, like what is a strong progression to taking that, let's say, IP or core material and then productizing that in a way that is repeatable, can make money, can build a nice career off of? Like what have you seen work super well, and what's the product suite, so to speak?
Yeah. So we work with a ton of keynote speakers, right? And so speakers are authors, authors are speakers. It just works hand in hand. And, a keynote is typically 7,500 words. A book is typically 55,000 words, maybe 75,000 words. So it's an opportunity to do a deep dive in something that you're already speaking on from stage. And for keynote speakers, it's an opportunity to again, showcase their mastery of subject matter. They can go to their clients who hire them to speak. They can go to bureaus who hire them to speak and say, hey, I've got a new keynote. I've got a book around it. And so we've done that time and time again. And then a broader category, I would say, is just consulting in general, whatever you consult on. And so bringing visibility to your consulting practice is something that we see day in and day out here.
Yeah, no, that's great.
And there's some others, some things that you hear about less often. Some people monetize through seminars. Some people monetize through coaching. And, I'll share with you one story. An author that we worked with wrote their book, and then I heard from him out of the blue 2 years later. He was like, hey, I got to tell you, this book project was the best thing I ever did. And I looked at his sales numbers, and they were respectable. I think he sold, 3,000 copies, right? And I was like, tell me more. And he said, because I did this book, somebody read this book, and we started having a conversation about this person buying my company. And he said, had I not written this book, I don't know that would have happened. So, doors are going to open for you as an author. Conversations are going to be had as an author about ideas in your book. And it's hard to say exactly what they're going to be on the front end, but just know that I've seen it so many times. It's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, I couldn't agree more on the door openings of and what the book journey creates. Something I was thinking about is, okay, if we just kind of think about this systematically, you're creating a platform for people to codify their expertise in many ways and mastery, to monetize that expertise and mastery. There is a world to distribute that mastery through social and brand work and all these other areas. How do you see the relationship of social and brand building and in the world of just where it's going, and just, I feel like you see the future well. I feel like you built a very stable and strong foundation, but how do you see the relationship between all three? And based on that relationship, the compounding nature of doing this consistently over a period of time.
Yeah. So when I think of distribution, I think of distribution of ideas, not necessarily distribution of books. Because when we talk about book distribution, I think one immediately thinks about selling it on Amazon or selling it at Barnes and Noble, right? That's fine. We want to sell as many books as possible. But the real value here is distribution of ideas. And so a book can never be the entire platform. It can be a centerpiece. It can be an important piece. It can be a big part, however you want to say it. But the most successful people that we work with, the thought leaders that you work with as well, they're distributing your ideas in many forms, many channels. And it's an ecosystem that includes social media. It includes article writing. It includes video. And not all of these are going to be right for every single author. And you just have to figure out what's right for you. And so, again, you got to view it holistically, not just as a book. And so, that's where companies like yours come into play. It's about building brand. It's about staying in touch with your audience well before the book comes out. So, when it's time to share that pre-sale link, you've created an authentic bond. You've showcased that you actually know what you're talking about in this particular arena. And then when you make the ask for them to invest further in your book, it's received far better than if all of a sudden you start talking about your book and say, hey, go buy my book. It's the most amazing book in the world. And so, again, it's part of the ecosystem. It can never be the sole thing that you're putting out into the world.
Yeah, I like the holistic side of this industry, because this industry touches so many tangential parts, right? And to your point, I think they're all very interconnected. And, the more you can bring that together and be consistent with your network, all the things you said, the more success you're going to have. Naren, a question for you. You were talking about, I'm sure a lot of authors come to you and they're like, what's my ROI, or how am I going to get speaking opportunities in this? What is, when you think about the speaking industry connected to hybrid publishing, what have you seen other authors do extremely well to build a strong speaking business in a way that, you know, bears the fruits for them that like they ultimately want.
From the time we start working on a book, if it hasn't been written yet, and it's got to be written, it's got to be edited, it's got to be put through production, it's a year in the future, right? If the book is already written, it's a lot shorter time. And so that time represents an opportunity to get the ideas out there and to start the conversations. And for a keynote speaker, it could be an opportunity to create a new keynote around the ideas of the book. And then, so what I've seen work really well is during book launches, for example, invite some bureau people in and have them preview your keynote that's around the new book. We did that in one case where, a couple cases where an author has gone on 4 or 5 city tour, not for readers, but targeting bureaus. Who are then going to say, oh, this keynote speaker that I work with, he's got something new to talk about. And they're going to get a flavor for what the new keynote is. And all of a sudden, they're going to show up in the bureau's pitches a lot more than before. So that's an example of something that I've seen in that space.
Yeah, no, it's smart. I think that's a nice strategy and tactic as well. I've totally seen the book tour. I haven't seen it from how do you be strategic, inviting speaking people to it. So that's good. Speaking of maybe wrinkles and things that you have seen that authors do that are clever, or authors and speakers that are clever to distribute their ideas, what are things that are more tactical that you have seen that you're like, oh, that's really nice, that works? What comes to mind?
Okay, this might not come as a surprise, but the number one asset that authors have when it comes to launching a book is their email list. Nothing converts better than an email list, because the emails that you've got, meaning that you've had some connection with these folks. So what I tell folks all the time is when it's clear that a book is coming, a new book is coming, start getting as many good emails as possible. And so the newsletters that we do, we got a nice sequencing. For example, when it's time for a new cover reveal, pre-sale happens, pub date, maybe some superlative around the title, send it out to your email list, and that will be more effective than anything else that you could do based on experience.
Nice. Yeah, I agree with you. I think not just at publishing, but I think just generally, like there's a value in the email newsletter and speaking. But yeah, I think it's very underrated and underutilized in many cases. So I could not agree with you more. Naren, we've heard about your journey. We've heard about where you see publishing going. We're into book tactics. You have your own book coming out. What are you looking forward to most? In your career, right, with what's ahead? I mean, you've already accomplished so much, but I imagine you're seeing a few things, years out. I want to know what's, top of mind.
Yeah, so there's a lot of discussion around AI right now, and rightfully so. Excuse me. And I think that, I, like everybody else, want to see what's going to happen in that arena. I can tell you that we're doing a lot of AI fixes right now, where manuscripts come to us that are a little too AI-y, if that's a word. And I think there's some perils in that, right? If it's 2026 right now, if you're not using AI in your writing process, you're not doing things as efficiently as you could and should be. That's a fact. And that sounds maybe like something you wouldn't expect me to say. But it's how I feel. But there's a time and place, right? And that time and place is helping you conceptualize, helping you research, helping you find case studies, helping you identify the things that are going to go into what I call the bulk of the writing, which must come from your head and your heart. And then there's room for AI again at the end when you're doing some refinement and doing some editing, right? And so we've seen manuscripts and proposals submitted that have had very little human touch, and they're terrible.
Yeah, I kind of agree more. I think it's to your point. It's fundamental, I think, to any good writer to use it the right way. But to your point also, I think a lot of people are just using it from the creation from scratch, and I think that can miss the mark often, for sure.
And what makes a great book, and my friend Josh Bernoff said this in his book, Build a Better Business Book. It's storytelling, right? It's like tapping into an experience, how you felt at the time, what is learned from that event that can be applied to something in the future, right? These are the little nuanced things that I just haven't seen AI deliver. And if we ever get to that point where it can, then we got other things to talk about.
Sure, totally. At the end of the day, though, like humans are going to be the ones buying what they want to buy to consume, and people are still going to need the purposeful effort of doing what it takes to go on this journey. And so, the mediums may change, how things may change, but I think email will be constant for hopefully a long time, and social media platforms may not, but I think that's okay. Naren, this has been amazing. I know you got some stuff you got to hop to. Before we close, what have I not asked you or should be asking you that you want to mention before we send you on your way?
No, I think this was a great conversation. I've really enjoyed it. And, to the extent that anyone wants to reach out to me, please feel free. Email me, Naren at amplifypublishinggroup.com. I love this industry. I love this space. I love books. I'm happy to answer your questions. No obligations. We're here to help.
Cool. Well, Naren, you've been great. We've sent some people your way, and they've been pleasantly happy, or not surprised, pleasantly happy. It's been great to kind of watch you and how you think. I think you bring an elevated perspective to the industry. So thanks so much, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Brian.